Hey everyone, this is Sonar Wave with another review. I just want to quickly say to everyone currently in Texas, my thoughts and prayers are with you guys, and I hope that things just turn around for you guys soon and that you're all safe and as healthy as you can be right now. So, yeah. If there was more I could do, I would do it, but unfortunately, that's all I can do is offer my thoughts and prayers to the people of Texas right now. But tonight, I'm hoping this will actually be much shorter than most of my other reviews. This is Ultimate Class Energon Armour Iaconis. Iaconis, while we didn't see a lot of him in the episodes of the Cyberverse, I don't remember how many he was actually in, but he was mentioned significantly in a majority of them after the Battle for Cybertron episodes, and he was a big part. I don't mean that as a pun. He was a significant part, I should say, in that particular part of the third season. We learned from McAdam, who was part of the Build-A-Figure line that was recently out. I did finally get all the pieces, so I actually have McAdam, who was not only his last remaining citizen, but I think he was also Alchemist Prime, one of the original Primes, so that was quite the interesting little plot there. But I liked the twist, personally. And yeah, we learned that McAdam himself had actually built his oil house, which is, I suppose, their version of a bar or a pub, that sort of thing, was actually built on top of Iaconis himself, and we learn later on that Iaconis actually forms part of the city Iacon itself, which is where it got its name from, and that he wasn't only just a Metro Titan, he was a War Titan, so he was sent around to different colonies or worlds with a group of warriors of, I suppose he probably would have had those amongst them who could take care of his maintenance and whatnot. But eventually he became obsolete, as it was, and his citizens had to subdue him basically into stasis, which resulted in the death of all but one, which was McAdam, and he became its sole surviving guardian. And he remained that way for quite some time. Obviously, he passed on, and Perceptor, I think, became the new guardian, as it were, of McAdam's oil house, and that because we actually see him when Wild Wheel appears running McAdam's oil house, so he'd obviously taken over that role. Why he never got his optics fixed, I do not know. He may have just gotten used to not seeing without them. The barrel on his shoulder did seem to actually act as another set, another way for him to see, so maybe he just became content to see like that. It's been inferred in different canon that Praxian door wings allow them to see the very same way in sort of like an infrared sort of vision. And we learned about Iaconis when Hot Rod and several others got down into the lower bowels of Iaconis looking for McAdam, and they discovered all these different defense mechanisms, a whole section dedicated to the stasis pods like on the Ark. There was an Energon supply, which is why McAdam had never run out. He had his own supply of it. There was also a massive training, I guess it's, I can't think of the words tonight. It was this big training program. It had, I don't know if they were robots, well, drones, I mean, or something like that, that well, Hot Rod, Clobber, and Dead End went through, I think, 500 or 600 levels before they finally ran out of steam, and they eventually learned the truth about Iaconis, and that the only reason the rest of Iaconis had not been found, and the reason that they were safe from the Quintesson invasion, was because he had this powerful invisible barrier around him that protected that part. So for them it was a safe haven. It was where they could recover. You know, when they got Soundwave, they took him back there so that they could figure out how to fix him, but he kept glitching. Every time he tried to use his sound blaster on his shoulder, it would cause him to start glitching. So yeah, they eventually got that issue fixed, but before that they'd freed all the Autobots and Decepticons, and they put them through a big training regime, and actually split them into teams of about 4 or 5, and was made up of Autobots and Decepticons. So it wasn't just a whole team of Autobots or a whole team of Decepticons. It was a mix, a variety, and some of them didn't like each other in the beginning, but putting them on a team together and making them go through all these levels, they eventually started actually getting along with each other. Like Grimlock and Streaker, they hated each other. They actually came to, I'd say, have a healthy respect for each other by the time they finished training. Even Bumblebee and Shadow Striker started getting along, because when she discovers Wooden Blade, after the temporary truce had been called and the line had been drawn literally through Cybertron, they found her in the other Metro Titan, Croatoan, whom she had set free, but in the process had shattered her mind. It was Shadow Striker who actually found her and then contacted Bumblebee to come and claim her before she set off the alarms as, I guess, a thank you for helping to save them all from Starscream's psychoticness. And some of them seem to change significantly. I am hoping that, you know, we'll eventually get a Croatoan with Iaconis, and that we may even get the Astro Train. And he was a big boy in Cyberverse. He was massive for this, and I actually liked that aspect this time. I really enjoyed that. But I think the last time Iaconis was actually mentioned is when Bumblebee and Chromia, who was searching for the shattered parts of Gwynblade's mind, are led to Crystal City, which is haunted, as it were. I think it's actually a defense mechanism of the city, and it's just given it this. It's convinced people that it's haunted as a result, and they meet Thunderhowl, who got trapped there. And from the way he acts and the way he talks, you can tell it was a very, very long time ago. And in fact, he mentions that he's from the time of expansion. So he didn't recognize the name of Optimus Prime. That wasn't his Prime. So it's likely that he comes from the same period as McAdam, and may even have served him when he went by Alchemist Prime. It's definitely a distinct possibility, but he also knew of Iaconis. He was intimately familiar with his work, so he may not have been a citizen of Iaconis, but obviously he was around in that time period when Iaconis was running around conquering other worlds and that. And even current day Autobots and Decepticons were familiar at least with the myth of Iaconis. They knew they knew terms that he'd been called, and tales about him. And he and Croatoan seem to be the only two functioning Metro Titans left. Although I think, although now, by the time they meet Thunderhowl, Iaconis was actually killed prior to that by Starscream. And so therefore, technically, Croatoan is the only Metro Titan left alive that we know of that was introduced to us. So whether there are more out there that we may see in these upcoming TV movies, and I think there's a fourth season. If there is, we may see another one there. I don't know. But yeah, they were the only two Metro Titans we saw. The only other bot that came close to them in size at all was obviously Astrotrain, who was massive himself. But yeah, we didn't really get to know much of Iaconis. We learned more about Croatoan and his personality and what happened to him. But everything we learned about Iaconis, we learned from McAdam. Like we know Croatoan was on another planet. That's where they met him. And his citizens had been taken. And he'd been damaged to the point he ended up in stasis, and the Allspark healed him. And it's interesting that both his name and what happened kind of apply it on the Croatoan myth. I mean, when the Autobots first arrive on planet and they're walking through the emptiness of the city itself, there are plants everywhere, and you can tell it's been abandoned a long, long time. And it gives off that creepiness, that something terrible happened there. And it's like that feeling people described with the Croatoan mystery. It's that same sort of feeling. And yeah, I don't think that was the intention when they came up with him, but that's how it seems to have played out. And I actually rather like that, so, but that's just me. And yeah, as I said, I don't know that Croatoan was a war titan. I don't. I think he was more of an explorer based Metro Titan myself from the things he said. Um, but Iaconis himself, we didn't really get to know a lot about him other than what McAdam told us, and even that was only so much information. Like, we'd never learned where he originally came from, who created him, were there others, who were these others, you know, were there any like Metroplex, Triptychon, you know, were there any like them floating around? It would be nice to know if there were others. I suppose we may eventually find out. And if not, well, it'll always be fun to imagine it. But, yeah, we'll just get McAdam out of the way. I would have to say Cyberverse has definitely been one of my favourites of the new stuff. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I do. I'm not going to show the Energon armor just because I'm not a fan of the gimmick. I only really got him because I wanted Iaconis. I didn't get him for the gimmick, but as you can see, he comes with a quite a decent sized shield and a nicely done sword. It's actually got, I don't know how well that's going to come across, but it's got this beautifully done, almost like a sparkle in it. In the blue, it looks really nice, but no, it's not going to come across very well on the camera. I really do need to get better equipment, which I'm working on bit by bit. And even though the ultimate class is a decent size, I think it's only about a Voyager. I think, I could be wrong. I did drag out some stuff from my collection to do some comparisons. And yes, I know I said this was going to be a short one, and I'm sorry, I lied. I like to ramble. What can I say? This is my Titan's Return Blaster, who is a Legends class, and I think he's a little shorter at the head from the look of it. I think Blaster's just got that little bit more on him, actually. And he's one of the only current leader class mechs I have. This is my masterpiece Ultra Magnus, just so you can see how much smaller he is. Which I find funny. You would think he would have been a significantly bigger size, but he's not. This is the Netflix War for Cybertron version of him, so he's taller than the current leader class mainstream version anyway. The only studio series I really have is, most of them are either in there, well, I've got Blackout, who I'm not dragging out, Grimlock, who I'm not transforming, and then Jetfire, who's now sitting pretty. But this is how he matches up to Grimlock in Dino mode there. I want to say that there was a Grimlock and a Shockwave in the Ultimate class. I'm pretty sure I've got both. I can't really say though. And just for giggles, this is a very old toy. This is the RID 2001 Ultra Magnus, who was I think they listed him as mega class. I'm not really sure what that would translate into today. Um, but yes, I've got a lot of Ultra Magnus. He is one of my very favourite characters. Supreme, actually, I think they labelled him as. They labelled him as Supreme, I believe. And this is Rail Racer, who was labelled, this was the Mega, I think. And then this is how he measures up against the current Combiner. This is, of course, Combiner Wars Defensor. The only other combiners I have are Combiner War Superior, and then of course I've got Jinbao Devastator, who is obviously third party. But that just gives you an idea of how he measures up against current mainline Transformers, both new and the much older ones as well. But I've talked to you guys enough. I'm so sorry that this has gone on this long. It's never really my intention to do that. But I'm done now, I promise. So I will catch you guys on the next one. Until then, stay safe and stay kind to each other. And a friend of mine reminded us of this today. No one has told you you are beautiful, you are unique, and you should smile because of that. Well, it was something like that, but the sentiment's there. We are all beautiful, we are all unique, and we should remember that each and every day. And even if no one tells it to us, we should tell it to ourselves so that we remember. So, be kind, be safe, and remember that you are unique, you are beautiful, and I'll see you guys later.